and welcome to Human. Tonight we will be interviewing Gibran Malik, the owner and founder and creator of Artist Connect, an app where artists and creatives can get paid for their talents. And tonight we will be interviewing him about the application, about his book, and also about his journey through the music industry. Tonight we look forward to bringing you an amazing interview. And yeah, let us see what he has in store for us tonight. I'm a little bit off right now. I had some complications recently with my heart. I was recently hospitalized and I recently came out. So please excuse me if there's any slight mishaps during this interview. But yes, moving forward, we are excited to have him on tonight. So let us see if he is ready, and then we will get right to the interview. I hope everyone is having a great night. Like I said, once again, we look forward to delivering you amazing content, thought provoking content nonetheless, and content that shows that everyone is human and gives everybody a different perspective on what that person has endured, you know? So hopefully he will be in soon. All right. Great. Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you very much. Um, Here we go. Hey, what's going
Hey
on?
man,
How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm good,
Good.
man. I actually I'm just getting over like a fever or something. I don't know what happened. I came down with something today, but I'm good. I'm fighting it, just like I'm fighting in life.
Yeah, same thing here, man. I just recently had heart palpitations, excuse me.
You
And
were telling
so
me.
I'm just working on getting over that as of right now. The medication does have me a slight bit loopy, but nonetheless, I am here to conduct this interview as promised. So I wanted to definitely move forward with that. I see that you're representing Artist Connect, which is great. I see the shirt. You could show the
Yeah,
audience your shirt. There you go.
you
Tonight,
gotta. I gotta
I
rep.
bel
I gotta rep the brand of the brand at all times.
yes, you do. Just like we have to rep human, as
There
you
you
can
go.
see.
There you go.
Um,
Rep,
but
rep.
without further ado, I just wanted to jump right into the interview and ask you, where are you from?
I'm born and raised in Queens, New York. I
Okay.
um, my parents are from Pakistan. They came here in the 70s, and I was the third of three children with my mom and dad. Um, I'm originally from the projects. I'm from Woodside Projects in
Mm,
Queens. And but when I was really, really young, my parents were working two jobs each, and they um, hustled up enough money to get out of the projects. And so I was able to move to Jamaica, Queens, and we got a house. And from there on, I was just a regular Queens native, going to school, grew up in the urban community. What's up to Raise McFly? He's in there. He's my boy for many years,
mm-hmm.
many, many years. I know him since he was like literally born. King Virtue, you're what's up in the building?
Okay, no, no, no. I'm also from, I'm born in Brooklyn. I'm from New York. I'm born in Brooklyn, raised in Queens. I'm raised in Rosedale, Queens,
Mm.
148th before you hit Snake Road. I
Okay, I know what
believe
that is.
that's near the LIE, I believe, the Long Island Expressway. Is not too far from there. And it's
Mm-hmm.
also not too far from Green Acres Mall. Um, For those who don't know, what is your ethnicity? I heard you say it a little bit earlier, but I just wanted to clarify it
So
for this interview.
my parents are from Pakistan. Pakistan is a country that was broke off from India in the 1940s. India was like its own. It's almost like, even though it's a country, it's like kind of like its own continent. There's so many different
Hmm.
people uh, in there. Like, you would think that in one country everyone speaks the same language, right? But India traditionally is so big, and there's like more than 1 billion people there now, but it always had a large population. There's so many different languages and cultures and peoples that live in India. So India is kind of like its own continent in a way. So
Mm.
Pakistan broke away in the 1940s, and my dad and my mom were already on the side of India that was already what is now Pakistan. So Pakistan is kind of like a mix of like Indian. I mean, it was a mix of like Indian culture and a little bit of Persian culture, a little bit of Afghan culture. It's kind of like
Mm.
we're like mutts, you know, we're like a mix of everything.
Okay. Do you practice any traditions from Pakistan till this day?
Yeah,
And
so
what is one of those traditions, if you could let us know?
I mean, so traditionally, most Pakistanis, almost virtually all, are Muslim, right? We do have
Okay.
we
Okay.
have a small Christian population as well, and if you go even further back, we even had a small Jewish population that a lot of people don't know about. Very, very small, but it was there. And there's even some Jewish cemeteries that are still in Pakistan to this day. A lot of people don't even know about that. But majority, almost all, virtually, are Muslim. So
Hmm.
the basic Muslim traditions that everybody here knows about or has seen, like where we pray 5 times a day, or we're supposed to pray 5 times a day, and not all of us do, you know. But Ramadan, I know you're familiar with Ramadan. 1 month out the
Hmm.
year we fast. These are like religious traditions that we have. But I I I also we also have our own culture too. So, you know, certain foods is very similar to Indian culture, but it also has a little bit of Persian influence as well.
Mm.
So we like to have our rice with a couple of different things in it. You know what I mean? Some of us like rice with the carrots and raisins and a couple of different things. So that's a little bit more of a Persian culture thing. But like I said, it's a mishmash because we also have curry too. So we got a little bit of everything. Um, but growing up, I grew up as an American because I was born and raised here in Queens, and I grew
Mm.
up in a very I grew up in the urban environment. So um, I literally grew up around hip hop. I mean, I have an older brother, and the first records he put me onto were hip hop records like EPMD, Rakim, um, Big Daddy Kane. You know, I was a kid and he used to be playing these records to me, and he used to show me how it was cool, how the rap styles were cool and things like that, and
Mm.
songwriting and stuff. So that was really cool. There was other music too, like freestyle music that he used to play. But I pretty much grew up like a Queens kid, you know. So even though my parents are from another country, um, I have that element. But
Hmm.
my main thing is a immigrant family kid from Queens. Like, we're all kind of like have the same thing. We might come from different countries, have different influences, but we all have that common New York. You know, growing up in New York as a child of an immigrant family. You know what I mean?
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, and Queens is very diverse and it has a heavy Middle Eastern influence out there also, to be honest with you.
Mm-hmm.
And I've seen communities of Indians also.
Yeah,
Yes, I
yeah.
have. Yes, I have. How did your environment impact your upbringing?
So, I mean, my environment, how did it impact my upbringing?
Hmm.
Definitely made me tough. Um, I think your parents naturally kind of shelter you,
Hmm.
or they want to. That's their inherent desire. But New York makes you tough. And I grew up, even though my parents got, like I said, that we lived in the projects. Even though we moved out of the projects, we went to Jamaica, Queens. We got a
Hmm.
house. You know what I'm saying? But the schools that I went to were really tough schools. Tough. When I say tough, I'm talking about like stuff was happening in my in our schools that, like, if I came back and told my parents, they'd be like blown away. Like I remember in junior high school, the first day of junior high school, um, we're in the cafeteria, and you got to remember, this is junior high school for me. The first year was 1994. So in Jamaica, Queens, in 1994, first year of junior high school, um, these kids are like, not forget about just cursing. They're saying all kinds of crazy things. Like there was a girl in there arguing with another kid, and the other kid was like, "Yo, I heard you was with so and so." Da da da. Like it's relationship stuff, but we're like 11 years old. I don't even know. We're so young. And the girl is like, he was like, "I heard you was kissing." Da da da. That's fucked up. Da da da. And then sorry for the language, but then she said something really bad to the kid, where she was like, "Yeah, well, when you was kissing me, you was kissing that dude's."
Okay.
And I was
I
like, you
get
gotta
you.
remember, I'm like 11 years old, and I'm like, this is crazy. So imagine now, I didn't even tell my parents. I never told them that story, but I was exposed to a lot very early, and you have to
Mm.
become tough. And my environment definitely made me tough. I almost kind of get concerned when I see my nephew get sheltered too much, because I don't want him to not get, you know, a tough skin. I want him to make sure that he can handle the outside world. So sometimes when I talk to my sister,
It's true.
um, I tell her like, hey, don't let my nephew get too soft, you know? Like he's gonna have to learn this world is a little nuts. Like I know you want to give, that's like the dynamic, right? It's like a paradox. Like you want to give your kids a better life, but then
Hmm.
you might risk having them lose a certain quality that makes them strong enough to handle life when you're not around, or in situations that they need to be tough. So we have to kind of weigh how much we shelter
Shelter.
and how much we
Hmm.
expose, you know? So it made me tough. My environment made me tough. I can definitely say that.
Wow. Wow. I mean, just to freeze right there for a second in terms
Mm-hmm.
of sheltering kids versus letting them experience the world. What would be your advice to parents with kids concerning that?
So a couple of years ago, I know when it was. It was in 2016. In
Hmm.
2016, I noticed like the whole political atmosphere like getting crazy, where everyone's getting involved in politics now. When I was a kid,
Hmm.
nobody cared about politics unless you were like the uncles or whatever, right? Um, but now everyone's forced to care about politics and act like they know every single thing about politics. Like you, even political experts are wrong, and they spend their whole life on politics, right? But we're put
Hmm.
in this situation where we're forced to have these opinions, and then I had to break it down. Like, there's some things that I hear conservatives say that make sense, and then there's things that I hear liberals say that make sense. So I looked at parents like, traditionally speaking, the father is the more conservative, get up off your behind and go out there and stop being such a little whiny baby, and you need to toughen up and da da da. That was the conservative energy, right? Has its value. The
Hmm.
mother, traditionally speaking, again, once again, because these dynamics can be different in different kinds of relationships, but the mother, traditionally speaking, is the nurturing, liberal. No, don't hurt my baby. Stay away. You don't understand. He's sensitive. She's sensitive. All that, right? And that has its value too. So my advice is to make sure that you have a little bit of both. Don't ever go to
Hmm.
extremes. I'm a very balance orientated kind of guy. I always try to say like, yo, we need balance. Like you need a little bit of everything, you know? And I also learned that from my religion as well. It teaches about balance, right? Even though a lot of people from my religious background don't always have that, but I picked up on that and I kind of leaned into that, where I say like, you know what? You want to make sure that you do shelter your kids to some extent from things that you know they can't handle yet. But you have
Hmm.
to actively
I agree.
make sure that they are getting tough. You are building them up to a certain level where they can handle certain scenarios if they are in those situations. So I think that's something that you just have to decide on a case by case basis. Like, is this a moment where I need to teach my kid to toughen up, or is this a moment I need to teach my kid or tell my kid like, don't worry, I got you. You know, like
Mm.
I got your back or whatever. You have to know it's a case by case basis. But I can tell you one thing: if you're constantly on one of those extremes,
Mm-hmm.
your kid is gonna get messed up. Either your kid's gonna be way too sensitive and not be able to handle the world, or your kid is gonna be way too rough and not have any empathy. You have to have both of those ingredients to be able to fight in this life and succeed. I think it's really important. Now the Tylenol is kicking in. The Tylenol is kicking in.
The
The
Tylenol is
Tylenol.
kicking
It's the only
in.
reason why I'm drinking it. Listen, I'm only drinking the Coke because many of you
Mm-hmm.
do not know, but caffeine
Mm-hmm.
does make Tylenol work better. And I don't like pop a Tylenol every day, but this is
Mm.
one of those days where I just been going through a lot. I had a fever, so much going on, and I was like, I just need a Tylenol. I got to get this interview done, and I need to make sure I deliver. So I just, and the Coke, caffeine and Coke makes the Tylenol work better. So
I'll take that tip for the future. I'm actually happy that I'm coasting right now. I myself, for those who don't know, had a recent recent problem with my heart, so I'm on the medication right now, and I'm kind of coming down bit by bit. It's been hours since I last took it, so I actually do feel pretty well. But this interview is off to a great start. Thank you, Sage. I appreciate that outlook. Moving forward, I wanted to ask you, how did you get introduced to music as you were growing older?
um, the way I got introduced to music, here's a funny story. Oh, it's not so funny. It's actually very interesting. So I personally believe that when it comes to your purpose in life, you kind of already unconsciously know it, right? And the way to find it is to look at what you're interested in without anyone else's influence. And how I got introduced to music was, yeah, I grew up in a world where my older brother was playing freestyle music and hip hop, EPM, D-Rock, him, and all that. But I didn't have to become a music fan. My cousins were with me. They didn't become big
Hmm.
music heads, right? My sister used to play Duran Duran and like alternative music, Nirvana, Pearl Jam. I got all the flavors of music, a lot of good quality music coming in from all spectrums. But the way I got into music was that I was just fascinated with sound and like how sound is, like the bass and the treble and how to make something sound clearer or make it more bassy. And I just was naturally obsessed with that. And I remember when I was a kid that my cousins, my older brother is a diehard Mets fan. So shout out to all the Mets fans that are watching. Um, but and he used to watch baseball heavy, promote baseball, and he's my older brother, so you would think that naturally you want to admire and be like your older brother, right? But
Hmm.
I never cared about baseball, right? And then my cousins also were like looking up to my older brother because he was like the main guy, and they were fascinated with baseball, and they used to go out in the backyard and play stickball, baseball, whatever, right? And I'm in the crib, meanwhile, playing with the boombox, playing with the EQ and the settings, and trying to record video game music with cassette tapes, right?
Hold on, freeze. What was that process like? Like, I would like you to dive into that a little
So I
bit
would
for
take
us.
my grandfather had a boombox,
Hmm.
old Panasonic boombox, and I would, you could record. It had like a little record thing, like a little, it was mad low quality, obviously, right? Like phone quality.
Got to.
Um, Handsome Island is in the building. He's my boy. Mets tape. They say my top NYC. So I took the boombox and I would put it next to the TV, and I would go because my favorite music was I play video games all day as a kid, but there were certain songs in video games that I used to like. So I used to put the boombox next to the TV, and I used to get a cassette tape, right? And my dad used to be mad because I used to take some of his cassette tapes with like old Pakistani songs or whatever from singers, and so I was like, I need a cassette tape. I can't go to nobody's giving me a cassette tape, so I used to just take an old tape. I used to throw it in the boombox, hit record and play. For those who remember the old boombox, they press both buttons down, the big gigantic buttons. You had to press it down with force. And
Yes, he did.
yeah, it was mad strong, right? Like you couldn't just press it. It wasn't a light touch. You had to press that joint down to record. So play and record. And then I used to play the music off my TV, record it on the tape. Then I would play it back from the boombox, and I would mess with the EQ on the boombox. I had like a very basic EQ, and I used to be like, I used to be just fascinated with that. Like, oh look, I was making mixtapes. of video game music from like
Mm.
Sega Genesis and other systems, like whatever video game music I used to record. So
What was
this
your
is something I
face?
used to do on my own. This is how
Mm-hmm.
like I knew that music was more to me than just something that people listen to, you know?
Mm. What was your favorite game? What was what was one of your favorite soundtracks from a game that you sampled back in the day?
Oh my God. There was a game on Genesis called The Streets of Rage.
Mm.
It's a famous Genesis game for those who remember Sega Genesis from back in the days. It was like a street fighting game. Um, Prophany said, "What's good, legends? What's good? What's good?" Um, so it's a street fighting game called Streets of Rage, but it had fire music. The music was like it was somehow the music was like contemporary freestyle dance house music, and I was like,
Mm.
wow, and it had like good beats and everything. Used to love that. Shinobi had some good beats. This was so crazy. Shinobi was a a ninja game, very famous ninja game from back in the day. Um, what else? I think those were the ones that had like contemporary dance and house music, and I used to record it and stuff like that. So that's what I can remember from what I can remember.
Okay, okay. He's sampling through the boombox. That is amazing. I didn't even know that that could even happen. I was young back in the day,
Street
like real
Fighter,
young. Street Fighter was a
Fly.
good game.
That's my boy. He said, Handsome said, "Damn, you're aging us, brother." Yo, how could I forget Street Fighter, Double Dragon? All right, we can get into this. This is good. This could turn into something totally different. So let's keep it moving. We got so many games.
Yeah, I see the comment section is going crazy. Everybody's
Altered
reliving their
Beast. Oh
child
my
days.
God. No, forget it. Virtue just said Altered Beast. Forget it. I'm done. Oh my God. Fire,
So
fire.
moving forward, I wanted to ask you another question concerning your parents. Did you learn working? Did you learn? Excuse me. Did you learn the importance of working hard from your parents?
Yes.
And how?
I I I definitely learned the importance of working hard for my parents, but I also my mom used to work like crazy, and I never really used to see her. You know, I saw my dad more than I saw my mom, but only because my dad was a tax assessor for Queens. He was a tax assessor. He had a city job, but he used to drive around and do the tax assessment in different houses and buildings. So
Hmm.
he could actually get out of work. So he would come see me sometimes, um, in school or whatever. If I was feeling sick or if I had to go home or early or something like that, he would be the one that would come. And so I used to see him all the time. My mom, I never really saw. She used to work at the bank, and she used to work in the city. So by the time she got home, she used to just have make food, and I never really talked to her. Like she used to make food and just whatever they used to do. My mom and dad used to watch TV or whatever, and I don't remember spending that much time with her. Um,
Mm.
but so I think with my dad, I learned with them. I learned about work ethic, but then I also saw the downside of working too hard. And like I don't want to
Mm.
knock anybody who feels like they need to work that hard, but I did I did want to see my mom more when I was a kid, and I think that I don't blame her, because when you come from another country, when you come from like a third world country, you America presents so much opportunity that it's like
Mm.
grind, 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 grind. We never had this opportunity before to make money and to do it safely, in at least. And like this is like the 80s and 90s, so it wasn't even all safe. You know what I mean? It was actually New York was pretty bad, but compared to a third world country where God knows what could happen, it was like the whole city could be burning it when we wake up one day. You know what I mean? It's like way worse situations could potentially happen. But
Mm.
uh, I don't blame her, but I wish she would have worked a little less and spent more time with me. So I saw the work ethic, but I also saw what happens when you work too hard and what you could lose in terms of memories, which are priceless. So
Mm.
I'm a grinder, but I also try to stay aware of like, yo, Sage, you need to sit back and enjoy the moment. Stop thinking so much. Stop thinking about Artists Connect all the time, or your business, or this or that, or whatever. Try to take some time to not have to use your brain and relax. You know, I still struggle with that, but I do know how to do that to some degree. But I still struggle with it.
You know, today I didn't. For a second after coming out the hospital yesterday, I didn't know if I was going to conduct the interview today. But me being me, you know, I love human to death, and I wanted to push forward with this interview regardless of my state, you know, my current health. So I do understand having to take a step back and take a moment to yourself and trying to live in the moment, which is sometimes hard to do as an entrepreneur, especially if you're wearing multiple hats. And even outside of just wearing multiple hats, you know, the projection of where you see yourself and your business going, in alignment of the success that you're aiming to accomplish along the way, right? For yourself and at times for others too. Um, what does good work ethic exemplify, you think? What does that look like?
I think good work ethic is doing something consistently, even if it's not as grandiose as what somebody else is doing. I think people have the wrong idea that they need to work more than someone, in the idea of either the depth of the work or the length of time of the work. And I think good work ethic is not that. That doesn't make you better. I think what makes you good is how many things you can do consistently in terms of work. So for instance, if you compare two kinds of people, one who works 12 hours a day versus somebody who works, I don't know, 7 hours a day, right? And the one who works 12 hours is working more, but they're not consistent in whatever it is that they're doing. So they're just putting as much work as they can out there, but there's no consistency behind any particular one thing that they do. Whereas the one who works 7 hours a day works 7 hours, but every day that they do those 7 hours, there's things that they do that are consistent in their work. You know what I mean? So like, for instance, not being able to get deterred is more like, not being able to get deterred from the consistency of something is more important than just doing a whole bunch of things like all over the place. You know what I mean? I think good work ethic is doing a few things consistently without any distraction, or at least being able to avoid distractions and be able to do that thing consistently. I think in nature, I think that's a law of nature too. Like if I give a plant, you know, a gallon of a bunch of water one day, but then less water one day, I give it something different a different day, but I give it something different a different day, something different a different day, then water again, then water the second day, then water the 8th day. You know what I'm saying? It's not consistent. So a lot of things are being done with this plant, but there's no consistency with any one thing. But if I only just water the plant, but I do it consistently every day at the same time, over and over and over again, every day, every day, every day. Yes, I didn't get it all this extra bonus fertilizer and all this bonus sprays and all this extra stuff. I didn't do all that other stuff, but I did feed this plant consistently at the same time every day. I think that's a better work ethic than doing all these other things. You know what I mean? So the way that metaphor would relate to whatever it is that you do in your work field, I think would be the way that I would explain how the differences should be looked at between good work ethic and bad.
Consistency.
Does that make sense? I hope I made sense what I just said right now. A little random.
No, you made sense. You made sense. It's keeping up and being consistent with what you're putting out, and also holding that to a certain standard simultaneously as you're putting out that content. Of course, allow yourself for mistakes. Things will happen along the way, but to keep on pushing nonetheless, and to keep on putting things out, because you never know who may see you that may either A, change your life, or B, point you in a or point you in the right direction to someone who can change your life, or your break may be coming. So, moving forward, how does one maintain good work ethic? I think is important. What type of discipline do you think that takes?
Um, I think part of what I actually said is what
Hmm.
also does that.
Hmm.
So making sure that you're consistent and that you understand the value of consistency will actually make you stronger. Um,
Mm.
in who you are as a person aside from your business, because you're doing something consistently, you're training yourself to be able to, because like with artists in the studio, and I know I'm jumping a little bit here, but what I tell them is consistency is what it is. It has nothing to do with the talent. I remember when I first did this, I was like, okay, I'm becoming an audio engineer and starting my business.
Hmm.
People had this they coined a phrase where they said, oh, there's only 10 microphones and there's 1,000 rappers. So the idea being that there's a chance that you won't make it because there's not enough space, proverbial, there's not enough space or there's not enough available slots, right? So I initially thought that was true, but then when I started working
Hmm.
over the years of me doing this for a living, I changed. I never really agreed to it, but I just accepted it. But now I don't believe in it at all. Now what it seems to me is you're gonna have talent. You're gonna feel like you can make it and you got awesome music and everything. Great. I believe in you. What's gonna happen is none of that's gonna be what's gonna make or break you. What's gonna make or break you is, can you consistently do this without baby mama drama, getting
Mm.
locked up, getting in some beef, family issues, other issues, any kind of world issues. When those things come in, that's what's going to break your consistency. And I don't see rappers who failed because of their talent was not being there. The talent was not there. I see rappers who failed because they were not consistent or something happened and broke their consistency. A bad
Mm.
manager, getting locked up, getting shot. So in the same token, um, you have to do things consistently to train yourself how to be able to dodge the drama and dodge the getting caught up in other things. The whole thing is to train yourself how to not to get caught up in outside influences breaking your stride. In the beginning, it's going to be
Mm.
hard, but as long as you have this in your mind as an understanding, you'll know when things happen. Okay, this is another one of those things. I'm going to be tested now. Am I going to break my stride? So you have to know that. I think it's crucial for people to know that.
Mm. It is very crucial for people to know that mental discipline.
Yep.
Yes,
Say
and setting emotional barriers for yourself, not letting things
exactly.
impact you so much to take you off your journey. Amazing, amazing. I
You
love
notice you
when you
notice a
put
lot
that.
of famous people, a lot of successful
Hmm.
people. It they'll have individuals that are like, oh, I knew him or I knew her. He's a this, she's a that because they left me and I was there when they were da 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 and all that stuff. And when I was younger, I used to think like, man, that's messed up. All these famous people are like a-holes or whatever, right? Like they're not cool or whatever. They're arrogant or they're this or they're that. And now I'm starting to see by myself avoiding drama, avoiding issues, trying to stay out of any kind of beefs or weird scenarios that go on. They're starting to people are starting to say, oh, he's changing. But now I'm starting to put two and two together and I'm like, oh, this is what happens? This is what
Hmm.
happens. So those famous people are not all a-holes. What happens is, it makes sense now. That's how they got there. Was they avoided the drama. You wanted to stay keeping bringing the drama, and they couldn't rock with you no more because then otherwise they're not
Mm.
going to be able to get to where they want to get to. You never see that side of the story. All you hear is the people that are complaining. Oh, I knew him. He was this. He didn't care. He didn't try to reach out. Who knows? You could be drama filled to the T and we don't
Mm.
know that. But that guy knows or that girl knows that about you. And that's why they had to be like, yo, I know you. I grew up with you. We were cool. And when the drama was part of my thing too, I was with you. But then I realized I got to get out of here. And you didn't want to come up with me. And now you're going to blame me like I left you? No, you got to come where
Mm.
I'm at.
Mm.
But you never get that side of the story.
Mm. You never get that side of the story. You're absolutely correct. People only tell you one side of the story, especially when it's coming from a perspective that makes them look bad, you know? So
Yeah.
sometimes people outgrow each other. This is true.
That too.
Some
That
people
can
outgrow
happen
each
too.
other,
Like,
man.
I'm just not interested in the same things anymore. What can I do?
Let me ask you a question that leans towards more of your journey concerning music. Was it difficult starting your own recording studio after attending Ray? And for those who don't know what REI is or Ray, please give some insight. Excuse
So
me.
in 2002, I had been out of college. I actually started at St. John's. I graduated from high school in 2001.
Hmm.
And I actually didn't graduate from high school. I did really bad, and I was depressed and testosterone raging, and I was just failing, and it was just all messed up for me. Puberty was a tough time for me. Um, so I got my GED in in 2001. I was supposed to graduate, but I had to get my GED, and then I attended college, but college just wasn't for me at that time. I couldn't get into college. I was I was just not mentally there. I couldn't do it. And
Hmm.
so I got out. I told my pops, I told my family, I was like, I need a break, like for a little bit. I got to figure myself out. So for 1 year, I kind of was not doing anything, other than just messing with music and stuff like that. But in 2002, I told my pops, I said, I want to go to this audio engineering school. I'm already good at it. I unofficially I'm good at it, but I would like to make this official. I would officially want to learn audio engineering in an actual school that teaches it and
Hmm.
learn everything the right way. And nobody believed in me and wanted to support me, but my pops did. My pops, thank God, he supported me, and he was like, you know what, I'll help you out, because I didn't have the money. So it was at that time, I think it was $6,000 to go to trade school as an audio engineer and to get a degree, to get certified rather as an audio engineer. So REI was an institute in Long Island. At that time, it had a different name. It was called RD, Audio Recording Technology Institute. Now it's called Recording Engineering, Recording. Uh, oh my God, I'm messing up the name. Recording uh, Engineers Institute, I believe. Recording Engineer Institute. I think that's what they changed it to. I mean, that's what the acronym stands for. Anyway, so 2002, I attended it, graduated in 2003, and it was right here in Long Island, so it was easy to get to. And that was the school that I went to, and I learned about engineering, about the theory of sound. My degree, actually, I have it here. I'll show you. Um, so this degree is a certificate to Gibran
Okay.
Malik, which is my government name, in the theory and practice of audio recording. Can you see that?
Yes, I do. Wow.
The theory and practice of audio recording. So
Nice.
uh, it's not just as an engineer. It's not just learning a program like Pro Tools or something like that. It's really actually learning about sound and how to understand sound and the theory of audio recording and practice. So I learned a lot about why things should sound the way they do and how things sound the way they do and how to manipulate sound. That's what they focused on. And of course, they taught me
Hmm.
the boards and how to mix and all that other stuff. But understanding sound in and of itself is an important and crucial part of understanding how to be an audio engineer.
Hmm. Did they teach you how frequencies impact the human body
They
in audio
taught
engineering?
they taught how frequency impacts the mind, not the body itself, but
Hmm.
the mind. They did teach that early in the beginning of the class. I mean, the beginning of the course, how sound works, how you hear sound, why does sound a certain way behind the wall versus when it's in front of you, or in certain rooms. Why do you get reverb? Why do you get um, uh, spatial sounds certain ways and things like that, and and how it affects the brain. But as far as how it affects the body, the way you find that information out now, they didn't teach me that back then.
Mm. Mm-mm-mm. I wanted to take the. What was one thing that you learned from Ray that you think that you still apply to this day when it comes to uh, doing engineering? Excuse me, doing work as an
Okay,
engineer. Excuse
I
me.
can tell you one thing for sure. One of the first things they taught us was you are an engineer. You're not a producer. Now, I do co-production on tracks. I do give ideas. as advice, right? And I'm usually, I'll experiment while I'm mixing, and like the artist will be like, oh, I like that. I like that, Sage. Yeah, that's fire. Leave that. Do that. So I generally co-produce in a very minor way, just by throwing ideas out there. But I don't force it. I don't say this is what you need to do. You know, I just do stuff, and then the artist picks up on it and they like it, right? But they told us, they said, do not think that you are the one steering the ship. If you're an engineer, you are working for the producer. You're working for the artist. So don't try to get on a high horse and try to dictate how the song or how the music is supposed to be, or at least definitely don't assume that, right? And that was key because I saw that a lot of artists that came to me, one of the complaints that they had with other studios or other engineers was that the engineer would be gung-ho on how things should sound. No, you need to do it like this. No, it needs to be recorded like this. No, you need to say it like this. And I was like, damn, they say that to you guys? And they were like, yeah. Like, yo, Sage, I couldn't work with so-and-so because, you know, and even if they were nice, like, yo, he's nice, but I can't work with him because, like, he's just like a bully or whatever. And artistically, doesn't work like that, because you come into the studio with a vision of what you felt. You're the one channeling something. I'm just helping you pull it out. You know what I'm saying? I'm not the one who made it. You're the one who makes it. I'm helping you bring it to life, right? So my job is to understand what your vision is so I can make it come out in the best possible way, right? In the most accurate way from what you had in your mind to what you hear on the speakers, right? That's my job. And as long as you understand that, people are going to be so comfortable with you and be so happy with you. There's other things that go into what makes a good engineer, but that's one big one. And that's one that does not, a lot of engineers, unfortunately, I see have trouble doing, you know? So that's one thing that I kept from Ray that I remember and I use to this day.
Nice. You give people the space to be themselves, which is important. A lot of engineers, I think, get involved in the creative process and try to steer that a different direction from what the artist intends, right? So you're guiding them on their path to make a better product, right? Is what an engineer basically is doing. You know, you're putting the final touches on it. How was the experience, putting together your own recording studio? What was that like? And then working in the likes of some famous people like Wyclef Jean, who I mean, you could tell us the rest of the people that you kind of worked with.
I worked with DJ Khaled, obviously very notable. Jadakiss, Freddie Gibbs, French. I mixed 2 songs with French. French Montana.
Yeah.
Who else? If there's anyone else, I can't think off the top of my head. But I've touched the echelons of great artists, right? Or at least notable ones, because there's some great artists that nobody knows of that I recorded. But when I started engineering professionally, I built my own studio. And initially, I was recording out in Long Island in a professional studio out there that was connected to my school, that they allowed graduates who had a high score to be able to use their studio, which, thank God, I had a high score. And but that's because I love engineering. So I used that studio, but it was far, deep in Long Island. And there's a lot of people from the 5 boroughs that are like, yo, bro, I can't go all the way out there. Like, this is a journey, right? So it wasn't a big deal for me because I still had a regular job, but I was recording professionally at that point, here and there. Then eventually, I don't remember what it was. I used to remember, but I don't remember now what specifically made me. I think it was a conversation I had with somebody. I would have to ask my boy. Is Ray's McFly still in here?
He's still in here. Yes, he is.
Let me wave him real quick because I don't remember. He might remember, but I had a conversation with somebody, and I was like, something triggered in me, and I was like, I'm gonna build my own studio, and I'm gonna start my own business. And at the time, I started college, and I went to college I remember I told you I took a break from college, but eventually I went to college, and I was studying. I was taking up business, and my major was marketing, and I wanted to learn about business marketing. So I was already in college for about a year and a half at that point, almost 2 years, and I I um, I decided to leave my job. I worked at the bank. I was working at Bank of America as a bank teller, and the position to become a personal banker was going to be open at some point, and the salary was like 30,000 a year back in 2005. 30,000 a year was a good amount of money. Now it's like someone it's not anything like that, but back
Mm-hmm.
then 2005, 30,000, 30 something thousand a year was like you got a little solid job right there. It wasn't the best, but it was something. Um, and
Definitely.
I was like, you know what? I'm gonna take out a loan. I know exactly what I need to buy, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna convert the basement in my dad's house into a recording studio. It has a separate entrance, and nobody's using this basement. It's just like empty. It's not doing anything. I was like, why not I just do that? So I took a big leap of faith, big leap of faith based on what I felt in my heart, in my soul was my purpose. I wouldn't even say my heart. I would say my soul. Because the
Mm.
heart is emotion that can mislead you, and the heart fluctuates all the time. Purpose doesn't fluctuate. Purpose doesn't fluctuate. The heart fluctuates. Purpose does not fluctuate. So
This is true.
when you know your purpose, it doesn't change. It's who you are till the day you die. You
Mm.
know, that's the soul. That's not the heart. That's the soul. So
Mm.
I felt it in my soul that this is who I am. So I took out a loan.
Mm.
Well, I took out several. I just drew a bunch of cards. I got a bunch of credit cards I signed up for with whatever credit I had, and I signed up for a bunch of multiple credit cards. And I drew out of all those credit cards. I bought all my studio equipment. I think at the time it was like close to $15,000 of studio equipment.
Sheesh.
And
Wow.
and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna have to just pay it back. And I was like, I believe that I will. But I took that leap of faith, and everybody was like, yo, you're crazy. What are you doing? You're leaving a good job. You could become a personal banker. You know what I mean? That's a solid job. I was like, nah. And I still have my 2 weeks notice. I still have that letter, and
Mm.
I have it saved. And it's funny because it looks like a treasure map now. Like it aged like a like it looks like something from like it would be in a museum. It looks crazy. But I'm keeping that because that's something that I will show to my kids later, my future kids, and other entrepreneurs that are starting out. I want them to know this is how it starts. You know, it could start like this leap of faith.
Mm.
And I left my job, built the studio in 2005, and I started advertising. At that time, the internet was out, but it was there was no Facebook or anything like that, or at least it wasn't known at all. MySpace was out,
Yeah,
and
MySpace
MySpace
was.
Music.
I remember
Do you remember
MySpace.
MySpace Music? Remember MySpace Music?
I think so. I think I remember the section. I remember MySpace for sure, though.
Yeah. So MySpace Music was a section of MySpace where you could register as an artist and make a music profile. You
I
know?
remember that. I do remember that. Yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes, yes.
So my cousin put me on. He was like, "Yo, why don't you message people on MySpace Music, the artists that are in the New York area?" And we started doing that every night. I made like a little before and after mix clip, and I was like,
Hmm.
this is what your mix sounds like now. This is what it sounds like after you record with me. I have it here somewhere. I
Mm.
don't know where it's at, but it was a little preview clip, like how music could sound, your music could sound, and how it could sound like with me after it's mixed. Come to King Sage Studios, right?
Nice.
And I sent that message to every single MySpace artist page that was in the New York area. And then I also had flyers. We went to different colleges, put up flyers, come to my studio, special price. Introductory rate was $20 an hour back then. Um,
Nice.
so, and then I started getting some clients, and then word of mouth is what really took off. I never had to promote that much since then. And word of mouth took over, started making money, was making more than I was making at the bank. And then I remember going to my professor, my marketing professor, and I asked him, I said, listen, if I get a degree, marketing degree, best case scenario, what kind of job do I get when I come out? And he's like, if you're lucky, you can get a job, a marketing job with a company starting at $50,000 a year. And he didn't know I was already making more than that in the studio. And I was like, all right, thank you. And I left. I had to, because the studio was making so much money. I had to focus full time on my business, and I've been doing it ever since that time.
I did read in your bio that you made an investment. Was that during the time of you running the studio? Can you tell us the story behind how that folded out, and what did you learn from that time in investing that you can teach someone
Roy,
else?
man. So up until that point, I was
Mm.
having a great run. I'm young. I'm 23 years old. I got my own business. I'm making more money than all my friends. You know what I mean? I'm just killing the game. And I'm not blowing the money on just going to the strip club or something like that. I'm not spending money like that. So I'm saving up all my money. But for what? So back then I knew, I was like, oh, real estate is the wave. If you can get in on real estate, that's the right way to spend your money, right? So I learned a big lesson from this, what I'm about to tell you. You could have the right idea, but if you go about it the wrong way, it can be disastrous. And that's what happened with me. I had the right idea, yes, go into real estate, but I handled it the wrong way. And the way I handled it wrong was I bit off more than I could chew. I was so blown away by how much money I was making that I was like, they're like, oh, you're going to get real estate, so you're going to buy a house here? I was like, no, I'm not buying a house. I'm going to buy a building. Bite off more than I could chew. More than I could chew. I said, I can handle it. I got it. Nah, what's the big deal? I'm a landlord. I'll be the landlord. Young 23, 24-year-old landlord of a multifamily property. I got this. How hard can it be? Okay, you rent it out. On paper, it made sense. The numbers added up. Okay, I'm going to get a mortgage. The mortgage is going to be at this much percent. The mortgage insurance and this and that and the third, it's going to come out to this much. Then this is all the rents that I'm getting for this property. All that's the cap rate was 10% or whatever. All this other stuff, I knew the numbers. The numbers made sense. I was going to make money. But I didn't know that that it was going to turn into a complete money pit. And the way it happened was I bought the building in 2007. And the market crashed in 2008. And the problem was that the city of Hartford, which is where I bought the building, was raising the taxes like crazy every year.
Hartford, Connecticut?
Hartford, Connecticut.
Indeed.
They were raising the taxes every year. The taxes on that property in the beginning when I bought the building was around $5,600 a year. By the end, which was like 10 years after that, it was like $15,000 or $16,000 a year. So whatever profit margin I was making was obliterated. On top of that, when the market crashed in 2008, all the property values went down because the bubble burst. So whatever I bought the building for, the equity that I had was wiped out completely. All that fell down. And I was underwater. The property was worth less than what my mortgage was. And I tried to hold on. I tried to keep the property. I tried to fight, but it was a commercial property, and there were so many different laws compared to residential, and they wanted me to do all these different things, and I started losing money, and all these different problems started happening, and I lost like almost $500,000 at the end. Yeah, over 10 years, I lost close to $500,000, and that's not including the amount of stress and sadness and depression that I had that kind of made me not able to work for so many days and months on end. I couldn't even work. I couldn't even record. I used to be like, yo, I'm too depressed. I used to tell my clients, like, yo, I'm shot. I can't even, I'm gone. I can't even do it. And it just killed me. It destroyed me. It destroyed me because I was young. I was in my 20s, and it was a money pit. I had to keep putting money to keep it alive Otherwise, it's gonna become a foreclosure, and you have to pay your mortgage. So now I'm paying out of pocket for my mortgage, and then I'm embarrassed because my family needs to help me out. Then I'm embarrassed that I need to ask for money. I hate asking for money, and it was just all bad. I was depressed. It almost feels like when I eventually sold the property in 2017, it felt like I had been locked up. I mean, I can't say that because I've never been in jail, locked up for years or whatever, but it felt like I was trapped in something, maybe like a bad relationship. I don't know how to explain it, but it was something that like literally leached 10 years of my happiness out of my life from like the age of 24 to the age of 34. And that really destroyed me, man. Really destroyed me.
How did you come back from a devastating time as such?
Sorry. Just give me 1 second.
Yeah, no problem.
I never really recovered from that. Because it's still my last. It still lingers like in my brain. Occasionally that thought will come across my mind, and like all the things that I was trying to do at the time, I feel were affected by that. Me being depressed from that affected everything in my life, from my ability to like relationships. Everything just got severely affected by this massive mistake that was in the back of my head. Like in the back of my head, it was like, you made such a huge mistake, your whole life is ruined. And you're not supposed to think like that, but that voice is just like, some days that voice hits harder than others, you know? Like, you're never going to recover from this. And I think I'm grateful that I'm out of it, and that I've been out of it since 2017. But I'm still shell shocked from it. I have like a PTSD from that, you know? And I'm still struggling with that. I'm still struggling with that. So I don't know. It's hard to come to a conclusion. I think, you know, once maybe something has to happen in my life that will make me not be affected by that as much. I don't know what that thing would be yet. I'm not there yet. But it still lingers. It still lingers.
What is one lesson you would teach someone, or what is one lesson you can teach someone from that experience?
Never. You could have the right idea, but go about it the wrong way. And never bite off more than you can chew. Don't be afraid to start small. Don't be afraid to do something that you might be able to handle more than this, but you know for sure you could handle at least this. If I would have just bought a single family home and said, okay, well, I'm going to let the equity grow and flip it, yeah, the market would have still crashed. But at least I wouldn't have been in a dire situation. I would have at least had a crib here in Queens. You know what I mean? I would have been like, hey, at least I got a crib. You know what I mean? I got my own place. So there still would have been something out of that. And I would have been able to handle it a lot better, and maybe did something with that. Even when Obama came out with those relief programs, they weren't for commercial properties. They were for residential properties. But I didn't have a residential property. I had a commercial property. So I was just, there was like, it almost felt like I was just getting beat left and right with no relief, you know? So never bite off more than you could chew. Don't be like, oh, I got to be so big, so fast, or I got to, even when, like I said, the right idea, don't bite off more than you could chew. You want to go live in Manhattan. You want to go live I'm not going to buy a crib until I could get this huge mansion crib. Yeah, but you could buy a condo right now that is yours, that can increase in value over time, and then you could sell it and then move to that bigger crib. But at least now you out of the hood, you out of the projects. you out of your situation, and you did level up to some degree, and you'll be able to feel that level up. And then with that new energy and that new enthusiasm and that new upgrade, you'll be a stronger person to be able to get to that next level. Don't try to level skip. Do not do it, bro. Do not. Listen, everyone who watches this, do not try to skip any level. You get boosted past the next level, past more than you thought, let it be a bonus. Let it happen because the universe wanted it to happen, and you're like, oh, wow, cool, great, thank God. But don't try to force it. Do what's within your grasp. You know, there's a famous saying, man's reach exceedeth his grasp. And what that means is that just because you can touch something with your fingers doesn't mean that you have the strength to hold it. Don't get it confused that just because I can touch it, that you got control over it. No, you got control over what's a little closer than that you could actually hold. That's your grasp. But your reach exceedeth your grasp. Don't forget that. That's the lesson that I had to learn, and that's what I think everyone watching and everybody I talk to needs to know. Don't feel like you need to wait till you can get the perfect this, the perfect that. Do what you can. Move up. Normal. Don't level skip.
How did your spirit persevere through all of this? Because you're still here today. You still have ventures that you have managed to kickstart. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And you still have an excellent mind, a great perspective. Like, how did you manage to still persevere and be the man that you are today? You know, you're giving great knowledge to the audience now, and we're here with you.
I think the main thing that I realized is that you already know what's going to happen if you don't keep moving forward. You know how that story ends. If you stop, you know for sure what's going to happen. Your last thing is all those memories. But if you keep moving forward, even if there's a chance that you can change things, I have to move forward. I have to. And you have to move forward realizing that you got to make yourself real tough. You got to really think to yourself, if nothing happens, at least I didn't die a coward. At least I didn't let people, at least I didn't tell this life like you beat me. You see what I'm saying? I fought you all the way till the end. All the way to the end, I fought you. And knowing that would make me happy. And I don't believe that it's going to be like that. I do believe that eventually I'm going to win. But I have to have that perspective because it's extremely sombering and extremely grounded and realistic. That I've accepted the worst case scenario. I've accepted the worst case scenario, which is I'm going to fight all the way through. And I'm never going to get the girl of my dreams. And I'm never going to have a perfect, a successful business. And I'm never going to have this. And I'm never going to have that. And I still decide that I'm going to choose to fight. And I'm going to choose to keep going. I still do that. You know why? Because I'd rather die fighting than to stop now.
That's the will to live right there. The will to persevere, the will to push forward, no matter what. And I love the way that you said that you know what happens if you stop. I fight that battle often myself as a creative and as the owner of this platform. Some days I do feel like, giving in, it's a lot to carry at times, but I don't, and I continue to persevere through it. And to know that if I do stop, I have the possibility of being miserable. Like we all probably had someone in our lives that we went to events with and they started drinking and they started living out their old, miseries because they didn't correct certain things in their lives. That is oftentimes what happens nowadays with older individuals that I do run into that didn't put their best foot forward to chase their dreams,
Yeah.
So I wanted to say thank you for sharing that time with us and being so transparent about how that unfolded and the lessons that other people can learn from it too.
Thank you. It's cathartic for me. Catharsis is me being able to know that I did help someone else in some kind of way through whatever pain I endured. I do get catharsis from it. I do get something from that immediately, knowing that I gave somebody a gem that even if 90% of the people don't take that gem and use it, if just one person takes it and actually applies any part of it, and I help them dodge some kind of bullet, at least some value came from whatever I went through, and that gives me a sense of catharsis. And that's why I'm gonna continue to do that, and I'm gonna do that for the rest of my life because I feel like it's the right thing to do. It's only right.
Mm, Before we continue going on, I wanted to ask you a question I believe that I should have asked in the beginning of the interview, but it kind of struck me now. Where does your name King Sage come from?
Oh yeah. So it's a good story. I was a freshman year of high school, and I used to call myself. We know people come up with nicknames all the time. I would call myself King, and the reason why I would do that was because my last name Malik in Arabic means king. Very easy nickname to come up with, right? And you're young, you're a teenager, you want to feel solid, like yo, I'm king, yo, what's up? I'm king, right? So what was happening though was people knew this, and dudes used to come to me like, and they used to tell me like, they used to approach me and be like, yo, you king? What's good, bro? And I'm like, I thought they were calling me by my name. What they thought was I was Latin king, because the Latin kings was around at that time in high school.
Yes.
And then
Yes, they
people
were.
started getting the wrong idea, and I was like, oh no, wait, I'm not. And they're like, oh yeah, but you call yourself king, like yo, what's good? I'm like, no, but that's my last name. So that was like, okay, that's enough for a pass. Like, yo, that's the dude's last name. You can't say nothing now, right? Otherwise, I would have gotten into a fight. It would have been bad. But then I was like, yo, king is just too plain, and it's just too regular. I didn't do nothing about it. But then we went to the library once, and back then, me and my boy went to the library. Is he still in this room? Because he was there. Where's he at? He's still there, but he's probably not paying attention right now. But me and my boy Ray's, he was with me in high school. This is the time when you could actually go to the library and rent a music CD.
I remember.
So instead of buying a CD, if you didn't have $20 to buy a CD, or $15 or $12, whatever the CD was, you could rent it from the library, and you could listen to whatever album you wanted. So we used to go sometimes after school and go and rent some music or whatever from the library. So he was looking for some albums or whatever, and I was just like, yo, I'm just gonna chill or whatever. And I was sitting in the library while he's going through the albums or whatever. I'm reading like a Chinese philosophy book. I do not remember the name of the book. I do not remember anything else other than the fact that there was a section of the book that said the 10 levels, the 10 different people in a society, 10 levels of different people in society. And of course, the lowest was like a slave or indentured servant or something like that. And then it would move up, to like warrior class, and then this and that, whatever. The second highest person on that list was a king. And I was like, how is he the second highest? I'm like, isn't the king like the number one guy in the society? No, the king was second. Number one was sage, the sage. And the explanation was that the king would go to the sage for like answers on what he should do about political affairs, and he needed the wisdom. If he needed the wisdom, he would go to the sage, and the sage would give him the wisdom to know what kind of decisions to make. So for some reason, I don't know why, but I looked at it and I was like, King Sage. And somehow it clicked, and I just started calling myself that, and then from there on out, it was King Sage.
Wow.
Yeah.
So the sage was once again the person that the king consulted with
Yes.
to make important decisions.
Yes.
Wow. I never heard of that. I wanted to implement a different question, a surprise question that I recently got put in the comments section. Who's your favorite artist you've ever worked with that most people have never heard of?
Oh, wow. That's a good question. I've had such good artists come through here. Wow, that's a good question. Who could I say? Off the top of my head, I don't want to say any one particular artist. I feel like there was a few artists though. One of them is an artist called Simba. Simba Lives Long. He still does music. I think he has his own recording situation now though, because I haven't seen him in a while. but I've worked with him since 2006, from like 2006 all the way up to like, I would even say 2019. We worked together. He's a phenomenal artist. So you can find him at SIIMBIE. I think his handle now is Simbi. So he's a phenomenal artist. Phenomenal. Who else? There's so many good artists. Focus the Truth is another one, rapper from here in Queens.
I like the name.
Focus the Truth.
That was cool.
At Focus the Truth altogether. He's a phenomenal rapper from Queens. Just a great artist. Great hip hop artist. Who else? There's so many people. I'm trying to think. Stav, he's a singer from out here in Queens. I'm working on a project with him now. So he's gonna release a project real soon, probably by the end of the year. But he's a phenomenal artist. One of his songs is actually on YouTube, Paper. So you could check it out. His YouTube page. I think it's Stav, STAV, and just put Stav, and the song name is Paper. Yeah, so his Instagram handle too, I think it's at Stav or Stavros. Who else? I'm gonna forget people that are gonna be like, yo, Sage, I saw your interview. How come you ain't saying my name? Oh man, but I'm gonna forget. It's so many. There's at least like 10 or 15 artists that were phenomenal that people don't really know. Mike Classic from Queens. He's a little known though. He's a little bit known, but obviously he's not like known, but he is out there. I worked with him since he was a kid. He has his own spot now too. Yeah, Mike Classic. That's another one. Cash Sinatra. I can't pick one. I know the question was one.
Yeah, no, it's no problem.
I really can't pick one because they're so different, these artists.
Have you ever thought of making a compilation, like a mixtape or album for them? With all of them on one compilation, mixtape or album?
I've thought of it. I was supposed to do it. Never got around to it. But part of that reason was because the whole stuff with the building in Connecticut, and I was just like, in Hartford, and when I had those ideas, I just used to keep getting depressed because something else would happen with the property in Connecticut, and it would just ruin my whole mood, and I'd just be like, I don't want to do nothing, But eventually, I will release, because I have thousands of songs. I've been recording professionally since 2006, so you can imagine how many songs I was recording every single day. How many days is that? 365 days a year multiplied by like 15 years. You know what I mean? Like, and people, and that's if there was one song a day. But I used to record. Artists would come and record like 5-6 songs, right? So I have thousands of songs. I have hard drives upon hard drives of songs from so many different artists. Artists that got locked up, artists that are no longer here, that passed away. A lot of people I know actually died from COVID that used to come to me. I had like 5 clients died from COVID.
Wow.
Yeah.
How did COVID impact your business in terms of recording people and things of that nature?
You want to know? It's so crazy because I think artists got affected emotionally by COVID. They actually wanted to record more. Business actually boomed, but I couldn't record them because I was risking putting my family at risk, particularly my dad and my mom. They're older. My dad has certain health conditions, and I'm always with him. I'm always around him. So I told my clients, I was like, I can't work. I can't risk getting COVID. I'm not talking about me. I could get severe damage from COVID too, potentially, right? Or I could beat it, potentially. But it's not about me. It's about if I call for my dad, or if I'm talking to my dad and something flies out and hits him, and he gets COVID, God forbid something happens to him, I'm not going to be able to live with myself. So I said, I'd rather not record right now. And the fact that they were getting the pandemic money, my clients wanted to record even more than before. So they wanted to record because they were off their jobs and they had more time to record. they weren't going to clubs because clubs were shut down. So all that money you used to spend in clubs that you couldn't spend at my studio, now you got that money can go to me. But you couldn't come to me because I was like, yo, I can't record, man, because I can't risk it. Then obviously, you know, when things got better, when like cases went down to a certain number, I felt comfortable recording again under you know, certain conditions. I bought like a HEPA filter for the studio to clear the air from viruses. It was a HEPA filter can actually catch virus particles. There's no guarantee, obviously, that it's going to prevent anything from happening, but I got to do something. You know what I mean? So
Right.
I did as much as I could, and but I did get a lot of remote work too. A lot of clients I knew built home studios at that point, and would record and send me sessions. I'll mix it remotely and send it back.
Okay. Look at the power of the internet. Look at the power of the internet.
Definitely.
Nice, nice. I'm happy that you was able to still maintain a certain level of business after everything was said and done, and that now you have people flowing through, you know, and supporting you in your craft because you're good at it, you know, for
Yeah.
sure. I wanted to jump in though into how how did the idea of Artist Connect come about? What was the inspiration behind that?
So with Artist Connect, it was around the time that I was about to sell the building and get rid of this money pit property that was just destroying my life. And I was depressed. I was like, whatever. But I was on my way to the South by Southwest Music Festival in Austin. And so I was on my way. I was in the plane. And in the plane, I had the idea hit me for Artist Connect. And what happened was, it was in the back of my head, but it just was, all the pieces were there, but it was never put together. And what I mean by that was, I had experience with artists asking me questions like, yo, Sage, you know a singer? I got a record, but I need a singer, yo. Yo, Sage, you know a videographer? I got to shoot a music video. Yo, you know somebody? All these different people that people used to ask for. But the question wasn't that I didn't know anybody. I knew people, but I didn't know how much they charge. I don't know if they're reliable. What if they're not reliable? What if I know talented people that are not reliable? That's going to mess my name up. So I was like, I had trouble trying to help make that happen for these artists. Even though I wanted to help them, it was just a lot to get involved with. So I was just like, that was in the back of my mind. Then I'm on the plane on my way to South by Southwest, and the idea for Artist Connect just comes. Like, you know how you just get an inspiration? It was an inspirational moment. You get something from the ether, like an email comes into your brain, like, ding, right?
Yes.
But the way it is that if you don't immediately write it down, you lose it, right? How many ideas have we had that we lose because we didn't write it down immediately, right? So
I agree with that.
It's like God gives you the email, but like you got the ball, but if you don't start dribbling, somebody's gonna take the ball out your hands. You know what I'm saying? And I'm just gonna give it to somebody else. So I immediately was like, yo, I gotta write this down. And I called the stewardess. I was like, yo, you have a pencil, a pen, or anything like that? She was like, I have a pencil. I was like, okay, I'll take the pencil. You got something I could write with? She didn't have nothing. I was like, you don't got a piece of paper? Nothing? She was like, no, I'm sorry, sir. We don't have any of that. So I was like, yo, what am I going to do? I took the barf bags from the seat in front of me. Barf bags that you could, like, if you have, like, plane sickness, that you could breathe in the barf bag or whatever, or throw up or whatever. I took that, and I noticed that you could write on it. And I drew out the entire app on that barf bag.
Wow.
I drew out the screens, the way they should look, everything. And it was just flowing out of me. And I still have that barf bag. And I actually plan to show that at like a TED Talk or a conference for entrepreneurs once I'm already on and the app is like multi-million-dollar, billion-dollar company. I want to show people that so that they can see how things can start from such small beginnings. I didn't have a piece of paper, but I looked for whatever I could write on, and I made it happen. That's the attitude you gotta have. That's what you gotta be. That's who you need to be towards life, towards everything. I don't got everything. I didn't have all the cards. I'm not 5'11". I'm not this. I'm not that. I am gonna make whatever I got. I'm gonna flip it. I'm gonna take the cards I got. I'm gonna flip whatever I got. I'm gonna fight. Like I said, I'm gonna fight all the way through. Because what else is there to do? You already know the answer when you don't fight. We know what that looks like. We don't know what's gonna happen if you fight. We don't know what you could win if you fight. We don't know what's gonna happen if you walk up to that girl or that guy and you say what you want to say to that person and see if you can make a relationship happen. You don't know what's gonna happen if you go up to that guy, the manager of that company, and say, "Listen, I'm the right guy for this job. I have this, this, and this qualification. I love this company. I love what it can do, and I love what I can bring to this company." You don't know what's gonna happen if you say that. But if you don't say it, you know what that is. You know what that looks like already. Why not see what it might look like rather than what you already know it could be when you don't do nothing? That's Artist Connect. That's what Artist Connect is all about. I'm giving you all the opportunities. Everything is there. I made it super easy for you to do it. Just do it. Just do it. Contact all these creators. Build a portfolio. Start paying using this platform. Get credit every time you get paid or you pay someone. Help do your business, put it together, make it happen, connect with the right creatives in certain areas, grow your business. Here's the tools. You got the tools now, you know? And before it was harder, but you still had to do it. Now I made it easier. You got to do it. Take advantage.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. And so can you give the people a synopsis of what Artist Connect is, real quick, the application and what it stands for? You definitely did give us what it stands for right then and there, but I want to clarify it for those who are just tuning in.
So Artist Connect, the idea that came to me was where all those people that creatives used to ask me about could be in one location, in one network, where you can find them. Not only can you find them and talk to them, you can know what their starting prices are already for their work, so that the conversation doesn't become awkward when you find out the person charges way more than you can afford. You already know the price going in, what the rough idea of the starting price is. So now you can see their work if you want to work with them, and then you can contact them, and then those creatives actually know that you have the money to pay. Because usually when people want to talk to them about doing stuff, they might always want to barter and say, I'm the next big thing. Yo, so can you shoot my video, or can you record me, or whatever?
Yes.
You know how many artists I've had to deal with that they're like, I don't understand those Sage, but I'm the greatest out here, and I'm the nicest artist out here. I don't understand why you charging me. Like, yo, are you serious, man? So this delays things, right? This delays things. So with Artist Connect, it's a tool where you can quickly and easily find who you need to work with. I mean, find people that you want to work with in a creative network, and then you can pay them, and then you get credited every time you pay each other. Every time you pay each other. So on Cash App or Zelle or these other apps or these other payment methods, you don't get any credit. You just get the money, or you send the money, or so that's there. But on Artist Connect, if you pay someone or get paid, you get credit for that in the app, and it promotes you based on your work ethics. So every time you get paid, you get promoted at the exact same moment without you having to do anything else. It happens automatically. Also, like written agreements, it helps you do written agreements where the chat that you're already going to have in the DMs, do it in Artist Connect. Because in Artist Connect, it's insured. Our company makes sure that people hold to cancellation policies and agreements. So you get that protection for free. It comes along with it. And it's an application that solves a lot of problems, particularly those problems for creatives.
Love it, love it, love it. I wanted to ask you another question to back up what you've just explained to us. Why is it important for creatives and artists alike to have another source of income?
Very good question. Number one is if you have a passion for a particular thing, whether it's singing, photography, DJing, modeling, that passion is not going to go away. If it's genuine passion, it's not going to disappear. And the fact that you can make money doing that, especially when you're passionate about it, you're pretty much guaranteed to be successful in it if you do it, right? So it's important that creatives make money off their talent and are appreciated and can make a living off their talent, because that means that they can spend more time doing what they love and less time doing what they don't love, right? Like some people have part-time jobs and then they have part-time revenue that they earn as musicians, right? A lot of people do gigs, especially down south or in other places. They do bars, a lot of bars and a lot of lounges. They need live music. So they pay musicians to come every weekend. And they don't give them a lot. They give them a little bit of money just to play and perform. But at least those musicians feel like, okay, I have a part-time job or a full-time job, but I can make some money doing what I love on the weekends. So, and I think it's therapeutic for them, feeling valued for their art, feeling valued for their purpose. And it's important that you do feel valued for your purpose. It's crucial. I would say more than important. It's crucial that you're valued for your purpose. Because when you're doing things that you don't love and you live your life not being able to do anything that's part of who you really are, you die on the inside. You die. You could be making millions of dollars, but if it's not doing what you love and you don't do what you love on the side, you don't have time for it, you're going to die on the inside. You're going to be depressed. You're going to be sad. You're going to feel unfulfilled. It's crucial for every creative person to be able to have something like Artist Connect, to be able to manage their business when it comes to their passion, and to be able to make that easier for them and to make it more of a reality for them, and to make it where they can generate more revenue from their talent than they normally would have in a very efficient way compared to what they used to have to do.
I love the way that you answered that question. It's very important that people understand the difference between just doing your talent or being known for your talent versus you actually getting paid for it and it becoming another source of income that you're passionate to have outside of you even working just a 9-to-5 job, which you feel you have to, you know what I'm saying, work in order to survive. And the ultimate goal is doing something that you're passionate about. I think that's one form of happiness, or maybe true happiness, that a person can achieve in life, is making money from something that you are passionate about. Moving forward, I wanted to ask you, what is one difficulty that you experienced as a startup that you had to overcome?
Ooh, one difficulty that I had to overcome as a startup? There's much more than one. I'll pick one though. I had to overcome the fact that every time I thought the app was ready, it wasn't ready. When you think a product or service that you provide or you're making or you're building is going to be ready, these estimated dates that you come up with, the app is coming out top of 2018. The app is coming out summer 2018. Artist Connect coming Christmas 2018. No, and no. It did not come any of those things. You have to be patient. You have to learn an incredible amount of patience and perseverance, working with your programmer, being able to handle the delays and the testing and the rerouting and the changes that you have to make into your product to make it perfect. And even to this day, the intuitive changes that you have to keep building into the app. And even Instagram, Facebook, they're constantly upgrading their stuff, and they're constantly tweaking how the intuitive aspects of their applications work. It never ends, but the beginning is extremely hard. Learning that. A lot of people come and they'll say like, "Oh, I'm making an app. Yeah, I got an app too. I'm working on an app." Okay, I hope it's something you love, because if it's not, you ain't gonna make it. I'm telling you right now, because the amount of work that is necessary to make this happen, is sacrifice and patience and perseverance, is incredible. Incredible. If you're starting out like how I start out, I paid for every update on a weekly basis or bi-weekly basis. I couldn't afford to make an app just out the blue. I had to pay to build it slowly over time, brick by brick. I had to build this this building up, brick by brick, over many, many years. It took me, we started building the application at the beginning of 2017, probably January 2017. And it wasn't completely done for both Android and iPhone until the summer of 2020. So it took about 3.5 years.
Wow.
3.5 years to have both a fully functional Apple and Android version of this application. 3.5 years. So I thought it was going to be done in 6 months. When I first started I told my programmer what it is, what I wanted, and I dictated to him, showed him all the screens, how I wanted it to be. And I thought it was going to be done in a matter of 6 months. 3.5 years. And I had to pay for it all out of my own pocket, and hard work, blood, sweat, and tears, constantly being rerouted, having to deal with bad programmers. I had to deal with some scam artists. I had to deal with people that weren't reliable. I had to deal with, so many bugs and so many issues, and just a lot. It was extremely tough, but it had to be done. It had to be done.
How did you maintain your patience through all of this? What's a key element? What does that look like?
I want to give a shout out to all the videos I've ever seen of entrepreneurs explain their come up process, because that helped me a lot, knowing all the failures that Mark Cuban and Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk had prior to their success. How many side steps, how many issues, how many things they had to go through before their success. Because every time that would happen with me, something similar, I'd be like, that's just another test. That's just another test. It's just another way the universe tested me to see if I really want this. Because it's the harder the test, the greater the victory if you pass it. I firmly believe that. I believe that that's actually a universal law. That's how firmly I believe in it. I believe that it actually applies to people who don't even believe in it. But as long as they do it, the universe will pay you. It's almost like if you work for a company, one employee doesn't even know what the company is, but shows up to work and works 40 hours. Doesn't even believe in the CEO. Doesn't even believe there is a CEO, because he never saw him. He only ever saw the manager. So he don't believe anybody past that point. You don't believe in a regional manager. You don't believe in the CEO. But the other employee is like, no, I believe in the CEO. 100%. 100%. Both of those people, if they work 40 hours, both of them get paid. The one who doesn't believe the CEO exists and the one who does. Both of them equally get paid. Do you know why? Because it's part of the law of the company that you work for us, you get paid. Whether you believe there's a CEO or not. You put in the 40 hours of work, get that man a paycheck. Get that man a paycheck. He gets a paycheck. She gets a paycheck. Doesn't matter what they believe about the CEO, if the CEO even exists. They work. They're working at the company. All of us are working in God's company. Whether we believe it or not, you put in that work, you're going to get paid. You're going to get paid. So I feel like every single person who works hard, who passes these tests that the universe puts us through, universe, God, Allah, whatever you want to call it, you pass the test, you're going to get paid. You have to get paid. You have to get paid. You might not know the day you're going to get paid. You don't know the exact moment you're going to get paid. There's a lot of variables in the universe that take place, but you will get paid. Eventually, you will get paid. So I firmly believe that, and that gave me a great deal of patience, along with the fact that what I spoke about earlier, which was, what else is there to do? I can't give up. So all those things kind of made it so that I persevere. I persevere through it all.
I want to ask you another question. I remember during campfire sessions, you did introduce your book, and I wanted you to reintroduce your book to the audience now. And what is it about? Please enlighten us.
So when I went through that Great Depression that I was telling you about, I started asking questions about everything, life, purpose, religion, God, everything. I forced myself to become agnostic. I couldn't make myself an atheist, but I forced myself to become agnostic. I couldn't make myself not believe that there was any God at all, but I kind of forced myself all the way down to become an agnostic. Like, I don't know what the hell's going on. I don't know anything. I make no claims. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to, whatever. And I remember my boys were like, "Yo, Ramadan's coming up. So you ready? You ready to fast?" I was like, ah. And they were like, "Yo, don't do it, bro. Don't do it. Don't do it." I was like, "Nah, man." They were like, "Yo, you don't believe? You don't believe?" And I was like, "Yo, listen, you don't know where I'm at right now. I'm on some, like, I gotta go through the whole process again. So just leave me out. I'm not doing this to be a a-hole or anything like that. I'm restarting the movie. I'm out. Like, leave me alone." They were like, "All right, whatever." So I started researching and studying all these ancient scriptures and stories and I noticed that I was attracted to philosophy. I felt like anything could be. You could talk about anything. You could have Jesus, Buddha, Muhammad, peace be upon all of them. But it's like, these are all just vehicles. These are all vehicles to get to a destination. And I felt like the real meat and potatoes of something is the philosophy behind it. Because the philosophy is how you live your life, right? You could tell me anything you want about Jesus or peace be upon him, or any of the prophets, or any individual in history. But how does this affect my life right now? What am I supposed to do as far as a philosophy, right? Just simply saying that, yo, this is my team member. This is the guy that I support. I stand behind this flag. You stand behind that flag. And that's sports, right? There's no philosophy in that. But what about philosophy? What about what you believe about how you're supposed to live your life? That's really the debate. That's what it's all about. And I came to a understanding of a philosophy that I felt was what it's really all about. And, I don't claim to hold any, like, exact truths. I personally feel like it is, and it would eventually be understood in that way. But everyone's hedging their bets on something. I'm hedging my bets on this philosophy, and the philosophy that I'm talking about is the philosophy that I speak about in The Cradle of Prophecy, which is the book that I wrote. And it took me about 3 years to write the book, because I was never writing a book. What happened was, I used to get these inspirational moments where I could explain my philosophy through a story. So I would get these moments where I would have these stories come to my mind, and it would be a story of a teacher and his students. And the students would ask the teacher, like, a deep question about life. And the teacher would give, like, a story as an answer, like a parable, to answer that deep question. And it would be, like, mind-blowing. For some reason, I used to receive, and I still to this day get these answers to life's questions. And then I have to it comes in a story form where, like, the answer is there, and then I have to build a story around the answer. And then the story just comes to me. It's like these moments. And it's just like how the idea for Artists Connect, it comes from the ether. It's that email. If you don't write it down right there and then, it's gone. Many stories I had that came to me that I lost because I didn't write them down in time, right? So I started writing these stories, and I started sharing them on my Facebook. And then people used to be like, "Yo, where'd you get that from?" I was like, "Dude, I wrote it." And they're like, "Nah, where'd you get that from? What book is that from? Or what quote is that from like Rumi or Sun Tzu or some famous philosopher, Marcus Aurelius or whatever?" I'm like, "No, dude, I wrote this." First, I was like taking offense with it. But then I was like,
Yeah,
oh,
I can see
snap.
that.
I was like, because I was like, you guys don't believe I could do this. So I was like, but let me look at the positive of this. Forget about the fact that they don't believe I could do this. At the end of the day, they're blown away by it, because if they're associating it with stories that were like big from big names. So I started getting these stories that used to come to me every week. Then I realized I have enough stories to make a book. So I wasn't ever really writing a book intentionally, but it ended up becoming a book because all these stories kept coming to me, and eventually I had enough stories to put in a book. So the book, The Cradle of Prophecy, it has one theme, which is there's a teacher and his students, and they just constantly asking different questions about life and the meaning behind life, and why certain things happen to certain people and why certain things happen to other people, and how to look at life and how to live and how to act and how to behave, how to understand religion, how to understand atheism, agnosticism, how to understand manifesting your destiny, free will, how to look at all these different deep issues. And the Cradle of Prophecy addresses all those issues.
Can you give an example of a story that came to you?
So, one of the stories is called "The Stain of Idolatry," right? And the students asked the teacher, "What is the stain of idolatry?" And the teacher says to
Hold on,
them,
repeat that. Can you
"You
repeat that part?
believe
You
like
skipped a bit. Can you repeat that? You skipped just a
so."
bit. Oh, I was about to say that.
So
Continue.
the name of the story, the name of the chapter is called "The Stain of Idolatry," right? And obviously, for those watching, everyone knows idolatry is when you worship like a statue or some kind of physical object in the world, and you worship that thing, or that object, or that whatever. It could be money, it could be a woman, it could be a guy, it could be a whatever, it could be anything, a mountain, whatever. So the teacher tells the students that you guys believe the right way, but you may still have the stain of idolatry, right? He talks about it as like it's a stain on your shirt, like how you have a stain left on your shirt from something, right? So the students ask the teacher, "What is the stain of idolatry?" And the teacher says, because they look up to the teacher says, "If I were to tell you of my sins, would that change your commitment to the principles that I myself learned and taught you?" And a group among the students immediately said, "No, it wouldn't change our mind to our dedication to these principles." And a group of them hesitated. And the teacher goes up to the group that hesitated and said, "That moment that you paused, that is the stain of idolatry. Because you put value in me as a person, as the teacher. You were following it because you're enamored by me. You're looking up to me. I'm your idol. So all of a sudden, if I'm not cool anymore, now everything I taught you doesn't apply. That means that you associated the wisdom with an actual person and not as an overall wisdom that applies to everyone regardless." You understand what I'm saying?
I understand what you're saying. I'm
Like
astonished.
you can be a mathematician, right? You could be a math teacher and you teach algebra and you teach proper math. You teach it to your students, right? But now imagine some of the students be like, "Yo, you heard about Professor Malik? What about him? Yo, you didn't hear what happened with him? Nah, I didn't hear. Yo, he beat his wife. He's going to jail." And they're like, "Oh, word? Yo, Professor Malik, yo, he beat his wife. He's going to jail. Word. Algebra isn't real anymore. Because we thought he was a good guy. We thought he was perfect." But the math don't change because the teacher fell off. You see what I'm saying?
Yes, I do.
If you associate truth with the teacher only, that's the stain of idolatry. Yeah, you think that you follow just the principles, but if everyone stops doing it, then that means you never really followed the principles to begin with. You just actually followed the person. So that's one of the stories to kind of teach like how wisdom transcends people and whoever you look up to. I could look up to somebody for the moment and be like, "Yo, that's my role model." But why are they my role model? Because they're stronger than I am when it comes to certain things. They've gotten to a certain level. But if now that person falls off, are you going to stop doing that thing because that person fell off? No, they were following the same principles that you're following to be a strong person. But you don't say to yourself like, oh, well, that can't be true anymore because so-and-so fell off. No, the principle could still be true, even if the teacher fell off. You see what I'm saying? So that's one of the examples, one of the things that I teach in the book, which is to help people understand, don't get caught up in the materialistic and hero worship. You know what I'm saying? Don't get caught up in people. Don't get caught up in people. You could love somebody. I'm a fan of Tupac. Tupac's my favorite rapper of all time. Was he a perfect human being? Of course not. There's a lot of things that I'm like, damn, man, I wish he didn't do that, man. Like, maybe he would still be here today if he didn't do X, Y, and Z, right? Indeed. But that don't mean that because of that doesn't make me not believe in rap no more, or not believe in the authenticity of his lyrics, or not believe in the good aspects of his character, or the principles that he might have said. You know, watch what I say, listen to what I say, don't watch what I do, kind of thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, just because I myself can't do it, I'm trying to strive to do this as much as you should be striving to do this. I'm your role model, I'm your teacher, or I'm your idol, so to speak. But don't get so attached to it, because once you do that, you lose yourself, you know?
Yes, you do. Yes, you do.
So philosophy is a big thing. Like, your life philosophy should be something that gives you a sense of direction, grounding, and makes perfect sense to you. And if it takes time for you to find that philosophy, take your time. Take your time to find it. Don't just say, oh, yeah, no, I got something. Yeah, bro, I know what I believe. I got it. No. Don't be afraid to say, I'm still looking. Don't be afraid to say, I'm searching. True. Don't be afraid to say, hey, I think I got like a good amount of things I do believe, but there's other things I'm still looking into. Don't be afraid to say that. The internet and social media kind of conditions people to feel like they need to say that they know the answers. That they got
this is true. Yes, this is very true.
You don't know what you're talking about. Don't you know? But then you set yourself up for a trap, because if you don't have all the information, which very usually we don't, or if some new information comes to light, now you trap yourself because you committed yourself to your stance. So you went so deep in it. Now it's gonna look crazy for you to get out. If you would have just been like, hey, you know what? I feel like this is the right thing. And then you find out something new, say, oh, you know what? I'm sorry. I was misled. That's not it. But if you would have came in solid and been like, this is what it is, y'all don't know, all that stuff, and now you find out it's not true. It's like, damn, I dug myself so deep in this position. It's gonna look crazy if I try to get out now. So now I'm gonna bunker down and be even more in my wrong opinion, even though I know it's wrong. You know what I'm saying? Based on new information. A lot of people trap themselves because they go too hard with information that they're still searching. If you're still searching, it's okay. It's okay to say you're still searching.
And it's okay to say that we don't know. A lot of people have an issue saying that they don't know. I also wanted to rewind to something that you said earlier in terms of the message being associated with a certain person, and then because that person may have done something out of character, people automatically disassociate the knowledge that was given to them, also disassociate from the knowledge that was given to them. Also, I feel the same way in music, right? Oftentimes, a music artist makes great music. The music could have had extremely great messages, and then we find out that he was caught up in something scandalous, and then all of a sudden, what his music did for us at that time no longer fits the mold anymore, which I think at times is very ridiculous, because I still listen to artists till this day that music at that time was amazing, and it's still great today, regardless of what I found out about that artist. It still helps me get through my day-to-day activity. Moving forward, though, I wanted to ask you another question. What is one lesson you learned that you could teach someone else who is a creative in terms of business or life?
I would say that don't get caught up in trying to be a perfectionist. it's very easy for artists to feel like it needs to be perfect. You have a vision. You have a vision. And if you feel like you don't get it exactly the way it is in your vision, you're never going to release it. You're never going to do it. That is a mental disease that is prevalent all over the place. And I know because I used to have it. I can speak on it because I used to have it.
Me too.
But the thing about art is that you are a conduit. You're not the owner. You are a conduit for what the universe wants to express. You are speaking on behalf of not just yourself, but on behalf of others. You're representing a feeling or an emotion or an expression that needs to be said, that other people can see through your lens. You know what I mean? And you have to understand that when you realize that you're not the owner, and I'm talking about in a very deep way. Of course, you're the owner. You're the copyright holder. You're the one that did it. But
in this physical realm, yes.
Yeah, in the spiritual realm, where you pulled that from is something beyond. And every artist, every true artist knows this. Every single true artist. Because even my book, The Cradle of Prophecy, I was pulling from a source. Yes, it's what I believe. It came through myself as a conduit. But I know that if I tried to write it, it wouldn't have came out. But when you pull from source and you just let it come to you, that's when it comes. Every writer knows this. That's why they say just start writing. Don't wait for the perfect sentence, for the introductory sentence to be perfect. Just start writing. You can edit it down later. You can cut off the fat later. Just start writing, because you're going to catch a vibe. And once you catch that vibe, what is that talking about when they say that? I caught a vibe. You caught it. You didn't create
it. Ooh,
you caught it.
Good.
What did Jay-Z say? You the studio, he was giving an example. He said you let God in. You open the door and you let God in. What is he talking about? I know exactly what he's talking about. Every real artist knows what he's talking about. You catch that spirit. You catch like the Holy Spirit and you let it flow. You know? And what it is like you have to not be so meticulous. You don't be so much of a perfectionist, because then nothing's going to come out. You got to just make the art. Don't get caught up in whether or not it's too perfect. Just, is that what you felt? That's how you feel? Trim off a little bit of the fat, but keep the same overall message. Move to the next track. Move to the next piece of work. Move to the next situation. Know when to stop messing with it. Even a painting can be beautiful. And if you start picking, well, yeah, I didn't draw that tree just perfect enough. Let me just add a few more leaves. And then, you know what? That mountain is just, it's not exactly the right shape. So let me start. If you keep doing that, eventually you're going to mess up the painting. And now you lost.
Yes, you are.
The same thing applies to music. The same thing applies to just everything in life. Let it be free. Learn to be a little bit more free. Have a general idea of what you want to do. Catch a vibe. Record it. Clean it up a little bit. Put it out. Put it out. And there's a lot of artists that are not here that never came out because they were overly meticulous. So every single creative person that's listening to this video, do not get overly meticulous. Do not get too caught up in anything to the point where it's not coming out. Please, please understand this, because this is the difference between somebody who eventually has a hit and someone who never let the hit happen because they were so meticulous they never let enough music come out.
Crazy.
That's it.
How has God impacted your life along your journey?
Man, God is everything. God is the anchor that makes everything make sense. God is the reason why I don't have severe anxiety. Knowing that God is in control, knowing that we all come from God and going back to God, going back into that spiritual ether, wherever we came from. Knowing that the universe does exist and that we're in it, and that there's some kind of order to it all. there's laws, there's principles, there's, like I was speaking before, there's something that's going on where there's an order, and there's some sort of order to things. And knowing that God is at the helm of all that, is what gives me the strength to just keep going, on top of all the other things that I told you. Just knowing that God is there. It's almost like when I say I'm gonna fight life all the way through. Who am I doing it for? Right? Who am I showing it? Who am I standing in front of saying, I can do it? Like, am I doing it for me? Because I could say yes to that, but what makes me feel better is that I do feel this feeling of like God being like a father figure or even a mother figure. That is like, you know how when you're a kid, you go up to your parent, your mom or your dad or your uncle or your grandfather or whoever, and you say, look what I did. Like, you want them to be proud of you. Like, look what I did. Look, Dad, look at me. Look at what I did. Look. Right? Because that's what they're doing. They're doing it for their parent, their parent figure, whoever that is, right? They want to show them I did something. So I want to show God, yes, this is the deck of cards you gave me. I was born in this body at this time period, given to this family, born in this environment, raised in this environment, with this genetic code and these issues, benefits, pros, cons, everything. And look what I did with what you gave me. You gave me a passion. You gave me a love for music. You gave me a love for art. You gave me the ability to help people, to put them on, to be a conduit for you, to write this amazing book, The Cradle of Prophecy, to make this amazing app, Artist Connect app, to do whatever else my future holds that he's going to give me to do, right? Look what I did with that. Look how I fought. Look how I realized that you got control over all this, and I'm not going to let X, Y, and Z get to me. Look at me. Look, I want you to be proud of me. Like, you know what I mean? I feel that. I do feel that. And it helps me. It helps me a lot, on top of all the other things that I told you. That's something that does help me a lot. Just even saying it makes me feel better.
I can see. I'm happy that this conversation has been not only enlightening but joyous for both of us. You know, it's been great learning from you. Of course, the interview is coming to a close, but I wanted you to tell people what we can expect from you in the future before I ask you the last question.
Well, you can expect Artist Connect to grow substantially as a company. Everyone on the application now that starts using it for transactions, for them to get clientele that they would have never gotten before, because as we promote, they're going to start seeing people who actually did do some work on Artist Connect, and they're going to get a lot of attention. And knowing that I'm going to be bringing opportunities to creatives is gonna be amazing, and I'm gonna keep doing that. I'm going to keep pushing this company. I'm gonna write another book. The Cradle of Prophecy is the volume 1 of many volumes to come, God willing. And I do write stories still from time to time, so it's building into the second volume of Cradle of Prophecy. So eventually that will also come out. I also plan to make short video skits for the chapters in the Cradle of Prophecy. There'll be like 1 minute reenactments of certain stories in the Cradle of Prophecy, because we live in a visual age. People are gonna love that. Like that story I told you, The Stain of Idolatry.
Yes, that was great. The Stain of Idolatry. Yeah. Please send me that.
Yeah, so
yes.
I'm going to make a lot of short videos, little skits, 1 minute skits with that are very intriguing, that are snippets from the story. The book is amazing. Like, you would love it. Like, all of your viewers would love it. They would definitely pull something great from that book in some way or the other. It's not a big book. It's not a super long book. It's only 150 pages, but I plan to make visual content for that book. And that's really it. And then whatever else happens in the future, I have no idea. Whatever God has ready for me.
Whatever God has in store for you, and so far it seems to be a lot. Moving forward, I would like to ask you one last question, and that is, what does being human mean to you?
Oh, I love that. Yeah, I love these questions, man. Your questions are everything, man. Your questions are everything. This is your brand. This is why I love it. What does being human mean to me? Man, man. I think being human means being a vessel, being a vessel for expression, for the universe, to tell a story. I think the universe is telling it's the universe is expressing itself through us. God is expressing himself through us. And we all have different stories to tell. God has a lot of stories to tell. He has a lot of angles to give you. I was God. There's a lot of different ways he can explain what he wants to explain. Ideas, possibilities, potentials. We are vessels for endurance. Being human is to be flawed, but have purpose, and to show that purpose overcomes flaws. Purpose overcomes that which cannot be seen, can overcome that which can be seen. I think that's what being human is. To show that, to prove that on the surface, I'm just an animal. I have to procreate, I have to eat, I have to sleep, I have to do everything an animal does. I'm a physical creature, bound by all the laws of physicality. I can't even breathe underwater. I can't breathe in outer space. I got to stay at a certain latitude, right? And yet we can do all these amazing things. We can transcend our physical self and do things that are beyond what somebody would think is possible. That's what being human is about.
Bravo, bravo. I just wanted to sit here and tell you, first I want to give a hand clap for those who will be listening to this, for those who have tuned in now, and for those who will be listening to this on YouTube, Facebook, and on Mixcloud. This was recorded on Instagram Live. I just want to say thank you, King Sage, for coming on and explaining to us about Artists Connect, your book, the stories. I would love for you to still send me that story. I would like to share a brief synopsis of that story with the audience, which can be found later. For those of you who tuned in now or who will be tuning in later or watching the video on IGTV, we will have a clip where we explain the story in the caption with his permission, and we'll have a small snippet of the story for those who loved it. Moving forward, though, thank you, Sage, once again for coming on. I hope that your headache has went away. I know that this interview did help me calm my heart down and relax. And this was a great interview once again on Human. Are there any final words that you would like to say to the audience tonight?
I would love for all of you to let me know if anything that I said inspired you or made you help to guide you in a direction that you previously thought you wouldn't go. I really want to say I'm grateful to God for this opportunity that you provided. Troy, Human, I love your platform. I love what you do, and I look forward to rejoining you in the future for another episode of something. Let me know. Just shoot me a DM, call me, hit me up, and I'd love to be back on in the near future.
No problem, no problem. Before we go though, where can people find your book at? And then we'll just release the interview, and I will have this information also posted at a later time too. So go ahead.
Everybody can buy my book. It's on Amazon.com. It's a paperback, so it'll come in the mail as a physical book.
Is there an audio version?
There's no audio version yet, but I'm working on that. It's called The Cradle of Prophecy. The Cradle of Prophecy. And on the cover, you'll see a wise man sitting in the middle and surrounded by different people. That's the cover by Gibran Malik, Gibran space Malik. So you can put The Cradle of Prophecy in the books, Amazon books, and you can order it wherever Amazon can deliver, and it'll come in the mail. I think it's listed for like $13. So throw it in your cart for whatever else you're ordering. Just throw my book in there so that it can come with the rest of stuff. Because I know y'all are all ordering from Amazon. I know as many people want to act like Amazon and Jeff Bezos is whatever. y'all still ordering from Amazon.
Amazon.
I feel you. I don't judge you. I do not judge you. I feel you.
Hey,
Okay,
this
it's
could make
okay.
a
It's all right.
perfect gift for the holidays too. You know, definitely keep that in mind and consideration if you're looking to get a gift for someone else that is inspirational and thought provoking. I think that you should go ahead and purchase this book from King Sage. What is it called once again for our audience before we go?
The Cradle of Prophecy.
Nice. And without further ado, guys, I would like to ask y'all to please check out this interview. If you do have anything that you would like to learn about from King Sage on a personal scale, please be sure to reach out to him. And please be sure to download his app and check it out, Artist Connect. And one last thing I would like you to ask you to do before we go is remember that we are all human. Have a great night, and I look forward to what the future holds. Have a great night, Sage, and thank you for being a guest once again.
Thank you. Thank you. Take care.
You take care.